Hi everyone, I'm Ali GREYMOND. Today I wanted to talk to you about a question I get asked very often is why are my thoughts switching? This is a question that I hear quite a bit, and there could be a few different reasons. The thoughts can switch if it's just like one switch. So you had this thought, say, for a year, and then it switched to another thought. This can be so very long term, so one thought long term, then it switched to another one thought, and that also is staying, right? In this situation, what that means is maybe the circumstances of your life changed, where, say, for example, a person has one type of OCD, and then they give birth to a child and they switch to child related OCD, you know? So, or the person had one type of OCD, then all of a sudden they became very religious and it switched to religious OCD, you know? So it jumps to what is the most important. And because you are powering up the new thing, means you're not paying attention, you're not feeding fear, you're not giving attention to the old thought, basically disregarding. The old thought dies out, but you're not disregarding because you're disregarding everything. You're just disregarding that thought because you're onto a new thought. So you're doing things correctly when it's related to the old thought, but it's not correctly in overall, thing of OCD recovery. So, and you can see how it works, right? As soon as you stop giving attention to the thought, it goes, but just don't switch attention to real life, not to another OCD thought, right? Um, so that's option number one. If you are seeing that the thoughts are switching a lot, so they're switching all day, you're getting a million different thoughts, and when I say switching, sometimes it can be switching themes entirely, and sometimes it could be switching very specific thought, but switching the details of that very specific thought. For example, I was driving and I feel like I hit somebody with a car on this street. Oh, no, 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 wait a minute, maybe it wasn't this street, maybe it was that street. No, maybe it was some other street. Oh, I remember, yeah, like this, and it goes from one to another. So it could be something that's just within that same situation, or like I said, like from one theme to another. So, but if you see that the thoughts are switching very quickly, that's actually a good sign. What this means is that the mind is not grabbing on to any one of the thoughts long enough and hard enough to really keep it. It doesn't have that much power. So basically, it gave you a new thought, and you said, "Nope, not buying into it." Okay, it gave you another one. What about this one? Nope, still not buying into it. And they're switching because you are choosing to disregard. So this is usually when people start to do recovery work, they come back to me and they say, "You know what, Ali, thoughts have been switching like crazy, and this is the reason." So it's actually a good sign. It's nothing to be scared of, and they're going to continue to do that for a while. But your anxiety to each one of these ever switching thoughts is not going to be that high because it doesn't get a chance to get that high, so it's going to be kind of like overall, I mean, it if you're just starting out in the recovery, it might be high overall, but it's not, higher because of the amount of thoughts, if you understand what I mean. So, and as you go, you will still have thoughts switching, but if, say, they're switching, um okay, let me just give you an example. So you started out, you just had one thought at level 10, right? Then you started to really do the recovery work, really refuse reaction. I'm talking more about pure O here, but this works the same way if you have physical compulsions and just choosing not to do compulsions, right? So as you are disregarding, the anxiety starts to go down, right? And the thoughts start to ramp up. So that initial first thought or first situation before you started to do the recovery work was 10 out of 10, or situations were 10 out of 10. You started to do the recovery work. When the thoughts start to switch, maybe they're switching at not at 10, but like a 9 or an 8.5, because there's so many of them. So it, and as you go week after week, you will see that, yeah, they're still switching pretty often, but now they're like at a 7, or now they're at a 6, and they will get to a point where there will be at a 1, and it will be like a whisper rather than screaming in your head, and then they go. And as you get further in the recovery, they also start to switch less because the brain kind of understands that, it's not so important, I don't need to devote this much resources to finding new thoughts, nothing is happening, like the person is disregarding, yet they're still alive, nothing bad happened, you know, nothing bad happened to anybody. And it starts to kind of like the brain, you need reassurance in terms of analyzing, which you shouldn't be getting, by the way. But the brain needs reassurance that the organism is alive, that this is not a life or death situation. So it's a completely different type of reassurance. And the brain only can get it by seeing you put yourself in these situations. Now we're not talking about anything like dangerous or like way out there, right? But just, like typical OCD stuff, right? So say for example, if you have uh, um, cleaning OCD, only cleaning the one time. If you have, say, HOCD, not switching a channel if you're watching a show and there's two people of same, like a same sex orientation, in the show, not switching the channel. Or if what's another example, if you have a bad thought during prayer, you're not reacting to that, as the brain sees that, yeah, you're just was saying whatever to all of those situations. After a while, this stuff just goes away. So that's how it goes. So it's very imperative that you refuse reaction no matter what. Looking at it as, 50,000 thoughts a day. And if you don't know, if you haven't listened to my earlier videos, people tend to generate about 50,000 thoughts a day. You know, if you look at it specifically, people with OCD, maybe it's a lot more. I'm speaking from my own experience as well, that it probably was a lot more than 50,000, because every other thought is an OCD thought in addition to daily life stuff, right? So looking at it like this, being very focused hour to hour, where's my mind at? Am I reacting to these thoughts? Am I taking these thoughts seriously? Am I analyzing? Or am I doing physical compulsions? Or am I avoiding things? And then refusing to do that. I hope you find my videos helpful. If you haven't subscribed yet, please subscribe. I do daily videos on this channel. Thank you so much for watching. If you'd like to do the recovery program, as always, all the information is on youhaveocd.com. I'll see you tomorrow.